Can you play the trumpet?
Oh, yeah, that's where we can start. Ooh. Hold on, let me Google this dude's first name again.
Timmy Trumpet.
I think it's Timmy Temple.
No, I was talking about the Mets closer.
Edwin Diaz. Wait, his last name is not actually Trumpet.
Wow. Like he was born to do that then, if that's the case. You've heard that cliche before? Timmy Trumpet was literally born to blow the trumpet.
Yes, he was.
Sadly, to puncture this story, his name is actually Timothy Jude Smith.
All right, so David, we'll start there. Timmy Trumpet in a sport that doesn't really go viral all that often. You need something. You need to kill a pigeon with a fastball in order to go viral in that sport. Is that an old reference?
I think so.
You don't remember this? You guys don't?
Of course I do. It's
Randy Johnson
scarred me as a child.
He murdered a pigeon.
It was on the Best Damn show, Sports Show period, a clip show like 1,000 times.
Hold on. Let's talk about the best damn rain delays because the best damn rain delays they had 5 shows in the can. The Best Damn Sports Show period did. And if you were lucky enough, especially down here in South Florida, you'd watch all 5 in
at least 60
succession.
times.
Yeah. Oh my God, David, what is your fondest rain delay memory? And why was it opening day? Why was it when you had the roof?
That. No, the worst rain delay I ever had was during the World Series, by far. People may not remember that. We had a World Series, the first game we ever hosted in 2003. Not the first World Series game in Florida, obviously, because we had it in 97. But in 2003, there was a quick rain delay. And everyone was so angry. They were just angry the Marlins were in the World Series. That was the year that the Cubs should have been in the World Series. And everyone hated the Marlins in baseball because small market, didn't care about Miami, and there was no one to promote but Pudge, and Fox was miserable about the series as well. And then we go into a rain delay, and the TV networks hate rain delays because they have to figure out how to program, and the majority of people leave during rain delays, therefore the viewers, therefore ratings are down, so it's just a nightmare. And Bud Selig was just angry, and Jeffrey was angry, and it's as though we control it. It's so ridiculous. But the best memory is a guy, and I'm going to shout out to him. Hello, Alan Sigwart. You must know that name, Mike, right? Do you remember that guy?
Alan Sigwart? Can't say that I do.
That should be the title of this this episode. Hello, Alan Sigwart.
Sigwart. He was a guy who was a steroid guy doesn't matter, he wasn't playing, just this huge guy in charge of the grounds crew at Dolphin Stadium, and he answered to Huizinga and Ross, not to us. And so he would basically tell us what we were going to do, and I'd have to meet with him before every single game at Pro Player. And we had an entire weather service station at the stadium, and we would go look at radar, and he'd talk to us about whether we could have BP, whether we couldn't have BP. And all of our managers were miserable because baseball is such a game of routine, and our routine was dictated by Alan Sigwart.
Mighty,
would tell
in retrospect,
us when
David,
we could warm up.
In retrospect, mighty presumptuous of you for me to know the groundskeeper name from the early 2000s. I apologize for not getting that right away.
He's a pretty famous guy, though, so I would assume that as a sports fan, he was one of the most well-known people in the Marlins organization.
That's not saying much.
Let me get back to my original question, which was about last night, playoff atmosphere at Citibank. Is it Citi Field? Yeah, Citi Field, between the Dodgers and Mets, and there was a lot of scheduling around the Timmy Trumpet appearance because Edwin Diaz has this amazing entrance as a closer. Closer entrance is one of the best things that sport has going. And they book him for this Dodgers series, and, it's not easy to beat the Dodgers, let alone find yourself in a save situation. But Timmy Trumpet comes out, and Edwin Diaz trots out. Very cool of Edwin Diaz to stay stoic because, there's a lot of pressure there. It's kind of, I'm sure he would say it was weird. And Timmy Trumpet plays along the entrance, and it was a great viral moment for a sport that doesn't really have much. I'm sure you were dying to have not only a successful closer because you signed Heath Bell, but to have something like that, especially that connects with the Latin American market, David.
Well, our viral moments always would come from negative things, right? We'd have memes or memes of.
You do this
of-
often.
Jesus. David.
I can't.
Go with memes.
Memes.
memes, whatever it is. Remember, there's that sort
Memes.
of big guy who's making that thumbs down, and then you had a little kid that was at a Marlins game as well. Did you see the people having sex at the Blue Jays game yesterday?
Why are you so excited?
You
Yesterday?
really are
No.
excited about that. You're
I saw the
weirdly
people.
excited about
I saw the
that.
people having sex at the
A's
Oakland
game.
A's game, and I
Was
do,
that sex? We don't need to get into details.
It's sex.
It certainly looked like sex.
yeah,
I
but-
mean, there's no
Came out at the
proof.
A's game.
It was the HBO at night like sex.
So this has actually happened to
It's
the.
like they don't do that anymore. It's HBO at night. You're making a reference from the 80s. HBO.
No, they do that. Is there no more soft porn on HBO at night, late night?
I mean,
Does that not happen anymore?
you're the insomniac. You would probably know.
That was a thing, right?
It is
That
not
was
a thing
No, it was
anymore.
more on Cinemax.
So
I've been told.
Showtime did it too. I wonder whatever happened to Emmanuelle.
Yeah, or like there was a manual in space after that. Like it became a whole franchise, legendary franchise.
When we talk about most successful movie franchises, no one ever mentions Emmanuelle, and I would say she's got to be the top.
Why?
Wow, the kids have no idea about Emmanuelle. Emmanuelle was a softcore porn franchise. Like the first movie wasn't exactly going for that, but each sequel thereafter just leaned more and more into it.
They found a
to
lane.
the point that we actually had Emmanuelle fucking in space.
It was something that everybody looked forward to. Forget like Top Gun 2 or Mission Impossible 7 or Lord of the Rings 20. When there was a new Emmanuelle movie coming out, it was appointment viewing.
This seems impossible to believe.
It's not
Oh.
true in any way.
What Dan, it may not have been true in your household,
Wait
but
a
in
minute.
every other household, it was quite
Wait,
true.
so you guys had emotional connections to porn?
Emmanuelle in Space is an American erotic science fiction television series produced for cable and syndication in 1994. It is loosely based on the character Emmanuelle from the 1960s, featured in dozens of softcore porn films over the years.
I can't believe that was 1994. That's not that long ago.
Put it on the poll. Have you ever cared about your porn?
This harkens back to a time where you actually cared about storylines because you couldn't fast forward stuff. It wasn't on demand. You had to
You
sit
guys
there.
are so old.
You needed a plot to keep you engaged.
He's got us gathered around the release of porn. Hey, Emmanuel's coming out
Calling
tonight
friends.
on HBO.
We would talk about it in school. That right? That was just to give people a frame of reference to how good you all have it right now growing up. We had it, it was scrambled because most households, including mine, did not have these channels. And what scrambled used to be is not that it was a blank screen. You could hear the sound of the movie, but you couldn't exactly see it because they would scramble it in a way that would make it hard to see exactly what you're watching. Every once in a while, you'd say, "Oh my God, it's a nipple." And then you'd like see it again and it would be an elbow. But whatever, it did the job.
There was
Job.
there was a whole spin-off series that was just called Black Emmanuelle.
Okay, Timmy Trumpet.
Timmy Trumpet.
So viral is what you hope for. And picture all of these old white people trying to figure out what's going to be viral and what can we do to be viral because it gets you a lot of attention, which no one's been able to monetize in baseball. The concept of viral, right? It doesn't. It's very hard to predict when you're gonna get it, obviously, and when you go for it, you're not gonna have it. And so closers are something that we can program because it's very hard to get your manager to agree where certain pitchers are going to pitch, and you have to work with your GM. And when you try to give attention to one player over another, the manager doesn't like it, the general manager doesn't like it, and I would always want that because I thought that's good theater and good entertainment. But with closers, you're at least able to get some traction with your baseball people. But then you need performance because can you imagine, Sandman, Mariano Rivera, if he stunk, it would not have been the thing that it was. And Edwin Diaz is having an absolute lockdown year for the Mets, and the Mets are good. All of this is good for baseball. And a New York-LA League Championship Series is what baseball is going for. It's what they want. They are hopeful they are going to get it, though the Braves may have something to say about that. But taking advantage of it, that's what the marketing department in your baseball organization does. They look for these things, and then they have to go to the baseball people and say, do you mind if we do this? We're going to bring Timmy Trumpet in. We're going to make it a thing. And then the manager has to talk to the marketing department about whether or not there's some clubhouse issues by showing one player or giving one player that amount of attention. So all of these things, it's like a high school sewing circle. But the Mets got it right, and they're going to keep doing it as long as Diaz keeps performing the way he does. And I promise you, wait to see, Timmy Trumpet will make an appearance in October at Citi Field.
Do you ever have input on what some of the players come out to? Do you ever try to nudge them in a direction, or do you save good songs for good players? Like if Braden Looper wants to come out to Firestarter by Prodigy, do you say, no, we'll reserve that for someone that's good?
I definitely wouldn't say that because I wouldn't know what that is, but the answer is yes. We talk to players. We get a list during spring training. The game day operations department, the people who are running the scoreboard and playing the music, they actually meet with the players to talk about their walk-up songs. We had a fight. Do you remember the year where they changed the rule in baseball this is the brilliant move that we had to make the game shorter, is that we were going to cut the time of the walk-up songs. And I actually, in a league meeting, said that there should not be any walk-up songs because players were waiting for the full bar or the full chorus of their walk-up songs.
For the beat to drop.
They were walking up slowly, and it was driving me crazy.
Oh, wait. Was this the Archie Eversole We Ready?
Dude,
Whenever
Juan Pierre had a
out?
whole process. He would do his practice swings at the same exact part in the song. I loved that song though.
So that's what players did, right? And they do because they think it's good it psychs them up.
We ready for you. It was the only thing that he did slow, is walk to the plate.
He was obsessive compulsive, right? Showing up at 1 p.m. or 10 a.m. for a 7 p.m. game seems a bit much too.
Why is that obsessive compulsive? That just means he doesn't want to be home.
Well, because he was on the field physically measuring the length of the grass near the third baseline.
I'm trying to remember as many 2003 walk-up songs as possible. Juan Pierre is the most recognizable one. I think Mike Lowell had DMX. Yeah, Party Up in Here.
Samson, you've never heard of Firestarter by Prodigy?
I've never heard of Firestarter nor Prodigy.
It was
It's
up
not
in
because
here.
I'm a white
Party
guy,
up in
folks.
Here. No, it was me.
You're
Party Up in
misplaying
Here.
that.
He wasn't playing it at you. He was playing it on himself.
David, if I had to play that for you every time you open your mouth, we'd get so sick of that sounder.
It was, I thought, the coolest moment of the baseball season. What's happening around him, and I'm not sure where it is that's landing, but the ethnicity of it, the New York, the Mets are fun, David. They're good and they're fun. And then Timmy Trumpet comes on, and Edwin Diaz is so badass, and he comes in real slow. He milks it, and it's extra cool in a way that baseball usually isn't.
We try so hard to be cool, and it's hard to be cool when you're just not, right? It's like the Philip Seymour Hoffman line in Almost Famous. Like, you have to embrace the fact that you're not cool. Like, that's the cool part, and baseball has a hard time doing that. So everybody does, I guess, when you're not cool. Why would you want to embrace that when you don't want that to be your baseline? But the Mets, I don't know that they're as good as you think. Certainly Jacob deGrom, if you watched that game last night, is the best pitcher in baseball. But the Mets offense is quite anemic. They don't hit well with runners in scoring position. And come playoff time, they're going to have to get some clutch hits from someone. And they're going to have someone other than Scherzer and deGrom do something because of the way the playoffs are this year, where there's no off days, very, very few off days. So it's going to be tough for them.
Last night it was Marte. He still looks great in a uniform. Like, that guy fills out a uniform in a way that other people do not fill out a uniform. And in that game, David, I think it is the only thing that rivals the game-winning walk-off home run. Stealing a home run on defense when you time it perfectly. It's not just stealing a home run where you get to the wall and you jump a little bit and you make the catch. But when you're in full sprint and you make the catch that prevents a home run, which is where the Mets won that game last night, it's got to be, if not the coolest feeling in that sport, the second coolest.
We practice that during not just during spring training, but pregame, where we'll have outfielders. It's why we lowered the walls at Marlins Park, because players wanted to make those catches, because it's so good for your brand and so good for the game, and they love doing that. The best players in baseball love making good defensive plays. It's not sexy, and it doesn't happen often, but what Nemo did yesterday was spectacular to watch, and it does draw a lot of attention to the sport, and when you're looking at plays of the day, et cetera, but it takes practice, and they do practice it.
I was legendarily wrong the other day.
Because it was a day that ended with Y?
Roasted.
I mean, what happened that you were legendarily wrong? Like, what? I'd like to know your frame of reference of what to you is legendarily wrong.
You were there, and what happened was I told you when the Brewers traded Hader that the Brewers would never again in their history get the kind of relief work that they had just traded away. Hader gets to San Diego in 4.2 innings. He's allowed 12 runs, 12 hits, 8 walks the other day. Now, this is a guy who would go months without anyone hitting a ball hard off of him. And he gave up 6 earned runs in a third of an inning the other day. He's been an unmitigated disaster.
Has he been worse than Rodney? Like, are you past that now?
Yes. How could you be any worse than 4.2 innings and 12 runs, 12 hits, 8 walks?
He got the save last night while you were sleeping. An inning scoreless for them to beat the Giants.
It was a great performance. Sandy. And you didn't see the love story coming with Bill Pullman. That's kind of the family dynamic there. Awkward Thanksgivings.
Is it his son in Top Gun?
Yes. Yeah, Bill Pullman's son.
I cannot believe it.
I like to think that there is a cinematic universe where he was the son of the president from Independence Day and just enrolled in the Navy.
I was looking at him, and he looked like Bill Pullman. I just watched Top Gun Maverick and reviewed it on a recent Nothing Personal, and I loved it. And I went in not wanting to love it. And that's a whole different kind of movie when you go in thinking and ready to not like it, and then you're looking for confirmation bias, and you're looking at the beach scene, and you're just waiting, and then all of a sudden you can't help it, but you end up loving it.
David, I had this take a few years ago that I thought Mission Impossible Fallout should legitimately be nominated for Best Picture. And I'm going to do it again with Top Gun Maverick for a whole different set of circumstances, too. Not just because it is at least as good a movie, and it's one of the better movies of the year, but it brought big box office cinema back. It was so important to getting people back into the movie theaters, and it was such a great bet-on-yourself type moment for one of the great action stars of our time. And critically, it is certainly one of the top 5 movies of the year so far. I know we're not in Oscar season, but
now they nominate up to 10, though.
They can nominate up to 10, but sometimes it's fewer than that, right? So do you think this is a ridiculous take? Presently, I think Top Gun Maverick should be nominated for Best Picture.
I don't think it will be, because the Academy has really tried hard, but this is going to be a different type of year for Oscar, not just because of what happened, what's going on in the country, but because of the whole Chris Rock thing there and Will Smith. They need to find a way. And there's 2 ways that they're going to build their audience this year. One is by having a movie like Top Gun nominated, but the other would be having Chris Rock come back. They tried to get Chris Rock to host the Oscars, and he said no, and then made the worst joke ever about Nicole Brown Simpson, and now the internet is all crazy about Chris Rock. Like, it was such a stupid joke. I still think Chris Rock will come back and be a presenter at the Oscars. My producer, Coco, wouldn't even let me talk about that on Nothing Personal. He said, Chris Rock said he's not coming back. You can't do a wait to see that he's going to come back.
How often does that happen, that your producer tells you simply cannot talk about something?
Not enough.
That's not true. It happens just about. We prepare. We do a nighttime prep call and a morning prep call before we record, and I would say that he does it almost every day. When I'll come up with a story, and then I'll have to pull no, I really want to talk about. I did a segment yesterday about Yeshiva University and a Supreme Court case, and he said to me, "Who has an interest in that except you?" And I said, well, it's a very important Supreme Court case. It's the separation of church and state. It's establishing an organization as a religious organization. It's LGBTQ. It's all of those things. And he just sort of rolls his eyes. And he does what I used to do with Jeffrey, is what he does with me, is every once in a while he gives in because he knows he can't say no all the time.
On the subject of court cases, I saw yesterday there was a legal filing in the case that Angel Hernandez is bringing against Major League Baseball because he is sued on the basis of discrimination, that he has not worked a World Series since 2005. And Major League Baseball made a point to put a filing out there that he was on track to umpire the 2018 World Series before getting overturned 3 times at first base on video reviews during one game, Game 3 of that year's ALDS between the Yankees and the Red Sox. What can you tell us about that development?
Well, I could tell you to listen to today's episode of Nothing Personal, but let me sum up what I did. I did a full segment on that today, but let me give you the highlights because it's incredible. Here's why Angel Hernandez has not won any part of his lawsuit. Because Major League Baseball doesn't care what color he is or where he's from. They care that he sucks. And they have been trying for a decade to get rid of him. And he does it to himself every time. And so it's not that they made the filing public. Those filings it's not a sealed case. It's not like they're protecting the nuclear codes in Mar-a-Lago, right? This is something that you can just access very easily. And
like
Joe
the
Torre,
nuclear codes in Mar-a-Lago.
Wait, was it not the nuclear codes?
No, he said it's something that could be accessed easily, like the nuclear
Let's keep
codes.
talking about it.
Can you imagine like the housekeeping staff in Mar-a-Lago coming across? Hey, is this a combination to a safe? Let me try it. Let me see if that can access some of his cryptocurrency. Oh, Christ, I just started a nuclear war. Who would have known? It's so ridiculous. It makes me laugh. But in any case, what were we talking about?
Truth Social? Which at first I was against, but if Donald Trump is just going to use that platform to openly admit to crimes, I am down.
Do you know it doesn't matter if you openly admit to crimes if you're not charged?
I will contribute to funding. Can we just keep this thing alive for him to totally screw himself?
I did not know that, David. Is that true?
That admitting to crimes only matters if you get accused and actually charged?
But if you admit them in public, can you then be brought up on charges for admitting them in public?
I feel like it certainly
that's
hurts
not the
your
crime. The
case
crime
in
is not
avoiding
admitting them in
charges.
public. The crime is doing them, actually. And you need to have a Department of Justice that actually is willing to do it. And they're not going to pull I say commie, and I think I'm going to get it wrong. Is it James Comey or Comey? Comey. They're not going to pull a Comey, right? They're not going to do anything until
Comey is so much better.
I keep calling him Comey. I don't know why. They're not going to do anything until he decides whether he's going to run in the 24 election because they don't want a repeat of what happened back with Clinton. So I do not think that the DOJ will do anything. But I'll tell you, he's making it harder and harder every single minute.
Hell yeah.
Angel Hernandez, that case has no chance. Just to put a bow on that, that's what we were talking about. It's not discrimination. I do know that I have sat in Rob Manfred's office. I've sat with Bud Selig, and we've talked about, with a group, like, how do we get rid of him? Is there any way to do it where we're not going to be looked at as being racist? And he just does it to himself, but the union protects him every time, and I don't understand it. As a team, when we see that Angel Hernandez is on our crew, we are disappointed because we know we're going to have to talk to Joe Torre or to somebody in the league office because there's going to be a problem during that particular series. He's just bad, and it's okay to be bad at your job, but you shouldn't be allowed, because you have union protection, to continue to do a job that you're bad at.
I've sat in Rob Manfred's office.
Look at me, Louie. I think it's a play on for me.
No, because then he said, and I've talked to Bud Selig. He doubled down. It wasn't enough.
He was a team
Because that's how long.
Team
No, the
president.
purpose of that was not a flex on how long I was in baseball. It was how long they've been trying to get rid of Angel Hernandez. It's just been going on forever and a day. And this lawsuit, he just looks like a buffoon. If he were the best umpire in baseball and were truly being not assigned, and think about baseball. Why would they not want? They're looking for minority umpires. They're starting these umpire schools trying to find minority umpires because they think that that's a way to excuse lack of diversity in other various places like other industries do. So you try to get it where you can so you can then trumpet that fact. Yes, that's a callback. And so it's the opposite. And Angel Hernandez is just bad. Bad. So bad.
What's the movie you're reviewing this week?
Can we talk about And One? Untold is doing a series of documentaries called Untold. I think LeBron's involved for some reason. I'm not sure why.
I don't think he is. Not in that series. I don't think
He's not?
that's,
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
And yeah, he may not be. I just see Bron everywhere, right? Every movie starts with BRON now. Isn't that his company?
No, Springfield.
Spring Hill.
What's
Hill.
BRON? Something totally different?
Yes.
Okay. So just cut that out. So
I believe the
this is
Simpsons live in Springfield.
This is a set of documentaries, and one is a sneaker company that was started by two guys I went to high school with. They were the year ahead of me in high school, a guy named Seth Berger and Jay Gilbert. Seth Berger, we went to a predominantly white Jewish high school called Horace Mann back in the days of great pedophilia in the 80s. And Seth Berger was the example
Great
of
in
someone...
magnitude.
Great in the days of what?
No. Great magnitude. That's how he meant great.
Oh, I'm certainly not saying pedophilia was great. I'm saying it was
what it sounded like.
everywhere at
I
Horace
got your
Mann
back. Always.
when I was there.
Widespread would probably be where
Widespread
I'd
is
go
good
with it.
Better.
too.
I wouldn't say
Rampant.
good too. I would say better.
Rampant's good. You know, we knew that teachers were sleeping with students, and as students, we were jealous of it because we thought those students were getting better grades, would have a better chance of getting into a better Ivy League school. It didn't even occur to us that it was inappropriate. It only occurred to us that there was an unfair advantage.
It didn't.
That's how crazy. No,
it didn't
that's
occur,
true.
It didn't occur to you that the students sleeping with the teachers. It didn't occur to you. It was.
I think you should have
Correct.
talked this one out with Coca.
it seems
No,
like-
that's I'm telling you what it was like in 1984 in high school when you know that there is a girl in your class sleeping with the history teacher and you're saying, "Wow, she's going to get an A and I'm not, and it's going to impact my chance to get into a better college." That's what we thought.
while sitting around waiting for Emmanuelle to be released late at night.
And just hoping that the scramble would work for like 1 second. You know when you like hit the cable box hoping that unscrambles it? And then when DirecTV started, there was a card you could buy in the black market that was harder to buy than drugs, that if you put it into the DirecTV box, it would unscramble every single channel.
A crime.
And that was, it was like $350 to buy. So we'd all like want to get other jobs or save our allowance money to get that card and sneak it in when your parents weren't home and watch all of the Emmanuelle stuff and then take it out and put back the one that doesn't even get HBO.
What other details did you want us to know about
And one. So Seth Berger was a guy who didn't occur to me would ever be able to start a business. He always wanted to be a basketball player. He was like the Vanilla Ice of Horace Mann. And I say that with all due respect to Vanilla Ice. And he ended up starting this company that was a huge success. They had Stephon Marbury wear his shoes. He got hurt wearing the shoes. They had Vince Carter win a slam dunk contest. What I didn't realize that I learned in the documentary was the absolute, not just dysfunction, but the way they treated their players who were on that mixtape tour. They would tour. I don't know if people still remember And One, but it grew into this huge business and then basically disappeared because they didn't treat their athletes right. And I thought it was very telling and very interesting they were willing to do this documentary. You will learn a lot about what it's like to compete with Nike, how quickly Nike can crush you. And that happens in today's world. Big companies, if they choose, if you get too big for them, if you're under the radar, they don't care. But if you get too big, all of a sudden you've tickled the bear. And or it's not tickled, you've poked the bear. And once you poke the bear, you get eaten. And one basically got eaten.
Tickling the bear doesn't seem like it's going to result in any harm for you. At LeBatard Show, put it on the poll, please. Chris Cody, did he say that with all due respect to Vanilla Ice? Did he indeed say that with all due respect to Vanilla Ice? Did you have something else you wanted to say there, Dave?
No, Dan.
Okay, good talking to you. We will talk to you. You were going to get in, and I interrupted you. You were going to say something, but you instead decided to do the segment in a way that ends with a fart. See you later. Good talking to you, David.
Very proud of myself because, well, just generally, I'm a very vain man. But it's been a very exciting offseason for the Miami Hurricanes program. But I haven't really annoyed you, the listener, all that much with Hurricanes talk. I'm not going to do it. I talked way more about Malik Rozier's 2018 team than I've talked about this team.
I feel like you're about to, though.
Well, it's game week. It's game week.
It's a slow
Not
burn,
really,
though, for the
though.
Hurricanes
Yeah.
this year.
Which I appreciate. I after going to the neutral site games against LSU.
Ridiculous cowboy hat.
With a ridiculous cowboy hat, oversized that I am unretiring against Texas A&M, you know it. To losing a heartbreaker to Florida, to being embarrassed and single-handedly changing the course of Miami history with a bunch of Golden Canes at halftime against Alabama.
I'm a vain man.
Yeah, I'm very vain man.
Proud of it.
Miami has a cupcake opener against Bethune-Cookman, and it is a slow burn. They'll have the tune-up game against Southern Miss before Week 3, which will inevitably be on College game day, and we'll see how that plays out. But I think what I'm most excited for on Saturday, obviously it's football season, tailgates, it's your team, you root on your boys, but we're ushering in a new era. It is a homecoming for Mario Cristobal, and I think that place is going to be absolutely buzzing just because in one big voice we get to celebrate that Miami finally got the message and they started to care. How this season plays out, this is a recruiting-based coach. I think they'll drop a dumb one across the course of the season that'll frustrate us, but Miami's on the right path because they care. They care, and that's the most important victory of this season. I think you got to give this coach like 3 years to build up the depth necessary. We're wiping out depth with some of these practices. We don't necessarily have the big boys backing up some of the starters.
Throughout history in Miami, no matter where the program is, Bethune-Cookman does not buzz.
No. But Bethune-Cookman never buzzes, and we're going to have a buzzing stadium for that game. And I can tell
For sure?
you. Oh, absolutely. They sold 6,000 more season tickets this year. There is a the Mario Cristobal investment is already paying dividends. But I am
You're telling me I'm going to see a packed stadium?
I think you're going to see a really well, it's Bethune-Cookman.
Right.
But Lower Bowl is going to be packed. I think you're going to see
That's better.
You're
Yeah.
going to see a very respectable crowd for Bethune-Cookman.
I'd be surprised
time's
if
the start?
that were the game.
3:30 start.
Okay, if it was noon, oof.
I mean, that's going to be a
3:30 is bad, too.
brutal heat. And
Yes.
Well, but
And
like
a
in
lot
the
of good
stands, you're
games
gonna be
on.
all right.
I mean,
the only reason I question is because, again, championship teams would not lure anything for Bethune-Cookman. And when you say the investment is already being paid off on Mario Cristobal, I believe some of the investment is being paid off, but it's not Cristobal. It's that he signals, hey, we're serious about this.
Yes,
It's not that everyone, I mean, he was the FIU coach. I know that he's a nice story, and ESPN, Sedano's in town, drinking cafecito with him, and it'll be a national feel-good story, but it's what he symbolizes.
It's what he symbolizes. And if you want to actually get to the team itself, the team from the highest levels, anything less than Charlotte is a huge disappointment. Now, that's kind of been the thought amongst fan base, but not amongst the people that actually matter up there. And I think it is certainly an attainable goal. This is the best quarterback Miami has had in a very long time. He is probably going to be a first-round draft pick. He has gotten better since last season.
I can't believe that. I thought their season last year was going to go in the tank like everyone does.
He did not look good that first half.
When they go from De'Aaron King to backup quarterback, talk about fading wrong side of history. I'm like, okay, these are easy bets. They're going to stink. And then all of a sudden they're throwing the ball all over the field.
While it was happening, because it was already such a disappointing season, we were already caught up in the narrative of sweeping change. We didn't truly appreciate what Tyler Van Dyke did last season
with bad receivers, I thought, or with underwhelming receivers.
Did he tie or break Joe Burrow's record of consecutive 300-yard passing games? Joe Burrow set that record with the likes of Justin Jefferson, like Pro Bowl receivers. He did that. Tyler Van Dyke did that last year with Mike Harley and Charleston Rambo, 2 undrafted free agents. Rambo didn't even make the Carolina Panthers team. He just got cut yesterday.
Cristobal was quoted as saying one of the reasons he came here is this person being his quarterback.
Joe Burrow did that with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
And the alma mater, but I'm just saying the way he talked.
The money helped him.
But he's talked up his quarterback is my point. He didn't have to do that, and he did.
By the way, the stat is 6 straight games of 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, which joins Joe Burrow as the only player to do so in the college football playoff era. So I think you could have reasonably low expectations just based off the fact that he's a recruiting coach. But if you enter the year with that level of quarterback play, then you have every right to be excited. Even if the Hurricanes hadn't done what they've done, which is signal that they're back as a football program, I'd be pretty excited for this season with whoever the new coach is going to be, because you get to watch that quarterback play every week. That was an incredibly dynamic offense that, as you said, Dan, made them entertaining at a time in which it seemed like all was lost.
We have a UCF guy in the cornerback here scoffing, saying that this is the best quarterback since the last time they had a great quarterback.
No.
Since Malik Rozier was thought to be the next great quarterback.
Come on, guys.
10-0. He was part of 10-0.
Yeah.
That team went into Pitt, stormed into Pitt. We were all surprised when Malik Rozier was Malik Rozier.
Please, Jer Bear. You've had a banner week from the fort on. This is somehow your second biggest fort. No, Tyler Van Dyke is a pro quarterback. We've had good quarterbacks here, but this guy.
Well, what do you mean by pro quarterback? Like he'll
mean,
make
he's
it to the
going to be-
NFL, or
Yeah,
he'll
he's
be
a first-round
good in the
pick.
NFL?
He's
He's
a
a first-round
first-round
pick.
pick.
Listen, I know he won the Herbie for guy ready to take it to the next level, but NFL quarterback, a good one, a starting quarterback, a Pro Bowl
Why you say
quarterback.
first-round
There's
pick?
a lot
That's
of guys. Kenny Dorsey was an NFL quarterback.
Miami is going to visit an SEC Power, a program that has had several years now under Jimbo Fisher to get these recruiting classes stacked. And Miami is entering College Station with a very clear and obvious quarterback advantage. You can't say that for the Miami Hurricanes programs of the last 20 years. I am not at all worried about the quarterback. He has actually taken the next step. The offense is going to look mad different. They got in Josh Gaddis, they got the assistant coach of the year, but it's going to be a different playing style.
They've got the assistant coach of the year. I know
The
they
coordinator
do.
of the year.
I
I'm
know.
No one's ever celebrated that.
I know. It's just a funny phrase. They've got the assistant coach of the year. It's a funny phrase.
You guys sound old and
Oh,
uninformed.
Get out of here.
No, you really do. Laughing off the
Mike, I've
best
been doing the
assistant.
show with you for 18
Let-
years. You've never mentioned an assistant coach of the year.
I mean,
you guys
offensive
just don't know college
coordinator.
football. You guys just
If I said
assistant
coordinator
coaches
of the year, would that be
immensely
better?
Huge. Yeah, coordinators are massive in
I
this.
am aware that
Akoy.
this is the way that Nick Saban showed everybody to get around all of the rules is to just get these coaching staffs. I know that these guys
They
are
got the best
overcoached.
guy in the nation.
Stole
That's
him.
a story.
Best coach,
They
Dan.
stole
At the assistant
best
level.
assistant coach in the nation from Michigan, who had a very good season last year. They made the college football playoff. He was doing well over there.
Be a head
they
coach.
took him. He will be.
Do it when you're a head coach.
Well, they also
Get to a head coach.
They were too
Get a
busy-
job as a head coach.
they were. I don't know what you're doing. They were
If
busy.
he's such a good assistant coach, he'd be a head coach. Huh?
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard
It's the next
Show.
step.
'Cause if he was such a good assistant coach, wouldn't he be a head coach at LeBatard Show?
I interrupted you, Mike. Sorry.
Mike, but you
Josh Gaddis isn't just going to take Louisiana Tech. You know,
right.
The guy
He's
who
gonna
did
wait for the big
the guy
one.
who
He's waiting
played
for the
Olaf.
Alabama job. Right.
I want you guys to all absorb that
did you
UM.
just make a Frozen joke?
Josh Gad coaches
Josh
a
Gad
college
coach.
team.
Let it go.
Mike Ryan, before he was
Very good.
Elite dad joke from Roy.
Thank you. That's right.
Okay, you guys want to look? I
So
know
let
my
it go.
audience. I'm not going to talk you up on Josh Gaddis, but my point is the offense is going to look very different. Look, Josh Gaddis did that with Michigan. They didn't have great receivers. I think you're going to see really slower pace because how many times did we see Miami under Rhett Lashley go like 3 and out, and it milked 17 seconds off the clock, and that's how you get in these blowouts by halftime. That's how you have a whole bunch of angry Golden Canes at halftime. Once again, embarrassed. We're going to drag some teams in the mud. That the trenches.
Buy your
help that.
tickets, everybody. We're gonna drag some teams into the mud.
No, I think that's a huge part of the strategy going into Texas A&M is we're going to slow this game down, be a deep drag Texas A&M into the deeper waters, and see what type of game we have in the fourth quarter. And I think from a financial perspective, that's actually the play for the University of Miami, not just strategic, because Miami needs to show that they can have massive TV ratings. And Miami's TV ratings aren't good if they're in a blowout by halftime. There is so many reasons why Texas A&M can't go the way that the other SEC games have gone. You need to make that a game by the fourth quarter and bring eyes because there is big-time TV contract deals on the line.
UCF scoffing again in the corner,
Well-
saying that we were really excited about Rhett Lashley when we got him.
Here's the thing.
Rhett Lashley was so good, he got a head coaching job. You should be thrilled.
That's what good assistants do. Yeah.
You're so right about those, though, Chris Cody. I do think that people need to realize, one, that before Mike Ryan became an obnoxious UM insider, this year...
Whoa, that was quite some time ago.
This year, at this time, instead
Yeah,
of
but you're deep inside now.
telling you that Van Dyke is as great as he is, he was telling me that Jake Garcia was going to be the next quarterback at Miami. I thought it was going to be...
I wasn't telling you that. I said people were excited about Jake Garcia, and actually I told you the opposite. Whitty and I went to camp.
I did not hear you guys raving about Van Dyke. That was not a thing that was happening, Mike. That not on air, not off air.
And also Kentucky Fried Chickens. How dare you, sir? We told you in a camp that featured De'Aaron King and Jake Garcia that Tyler Van Dyke actually impressed us most.
Are you talking as
as
a
a
chicken
quarterback.
right now?
What
No,
just
I'm
happened?
just telling you.
You want the chickens to
Kentucky
come
Fried
out?
Chicken.
What are you asking
Chris,
for?
you started
You're
the
rattled.
That's the most
I mean,
serious chicken I've ever heard.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is what happens to Mike.
It speaks
it with his
very well,
chest.
though.
This
I
is
mean,
what
yeah.
happens when this is what happens. Listen,
Well,
Some bass in his voice.
How would you react to a full-face lie questioning your integrity?
We've got-
He's just flatly lying.
The same way.
He's a liar.
I'm not.
He's a lying
I am
con
not
man.
lying, Mike. The only reason that I know
So
I think
nice this is aimed at someone else for a
Coincidentally,
change.
I think Jake Garcia actually has quite a battle on his hands to take this job next year from HBK. to
Okay,
Kerry Brown.
I don't want to break down next year, and I need you to stop. Okay,
Shawn
I need you to
Michaels?
stop.
Brother.
And
No, he
it's
goes
been
by
10
HBK.
minutes of this.
Really?
Yeah, he's a huge Shawn Michaels fan. Actually.
Wow.
man,
No,
yeah.
I'm
he
a fan
looks
of his
support-
now.
he looks
HBK.
support-
Mike,
Dan,
I am requesting that.
you don't want to talk about next year's. I'm talking about Kane's classes 5 years from now.
Well,
dog.
I am requesting that you look in a mirror, okay? Because we have been at this. You promised at the beginning. I haven't annoyed you guys this much. You're analyzing a Texas A&M game that's weeks from now that
Well,
you're going
congrats,
to.
you brought the emotion
Will you
out of me
stop
with your
it?
dumbass
Back-
commentary
all right.
about
I mean,
Josh
Mike.
Gaddis and Jake Garcia.
Listen to me. This is what I will not allow you to
You ain't
do
good.
to the audience during the college football season, okay? You just, with no sense of irony, said, and this is why all the Golden Canes were angry at halftime, okay? Like, that's a thing that you just
Because
said.
the University of Miami entered the 21st century. We were pissed off about
You
that.
just said that in a
Not
week.
one of you have thanked me. For that. Not one.
You just said that weeks from now we're gonna watch the enthusiasm and excitement of seeing Texas A&M dragged into deeper water.
Yeah, baby.
Mud. Yes.
Mud and deeper water. First, it's going to be deeper water, and then there are going to be layers of mud beyond the deeper water.
We have a good quarterback. What are we doing this for? We don't need to be dragged into the mud.
Outscore
Then he yells.
Remove ourselves from the mud.
Then he yells at me and Stugotz, okay, and just dismisses us as old because we have the temerity to laugh about never having heard the phrase before, and we got the assistant coach of the year. And
Everybody wants the assistant coach of the year. We got him. What do we?
What's the matter with you?
What's the matter with you?
Not the U.S. Open.
Dude,
Oh. Serena.
I was fading her.
Why?
Everybody thought that she was going to lose.
Earlier this
No one thought that.
Earlier this week,
Nobody thought that?
I don't know if you aired it or not, but earlier this week, Mike came in, and I think we declared him the Serena Williams of sitting around with your hands in your underwear criticizing great athletes because he said she's so washed. And I was making fun of him because of her age, because she's had a baby, because she has no reasonable right to still be somebody who could beat the second-ranked player in the world. Mike did indeed cop to being the Serena Williams of sitting around with his hands in his underwear criticizing great athletes.
Yeah, but prime Serena
Jealous.
Williams. I'm still very much in my prime. I'm as good at 36 at doing that as I was at 24. And the point that I was trying to make was comparatively, this is a fairly obvious one. She's washed to the standard that she set, but last night was majestic, a great sports moment. If she completes this Cinderella run, my God, Pa. What a crowning achievement on already the greatest career ever. What she did last night was incredibly impressive, and I don't see, based on her recent performances in tournaments, how she can actually do this. It'd be the coolest sports moment for people north of 35 since Tiger completed his comeback and won at the Masters. It is going to be a moment in time for people of a certain age.
Does it have to be of a certain age? I told you guys that I was legitimately moved during the Super Bowl commercial that had Peyton Manning and Jimmy Butler, and the last one entering the bowling alley as a reveal was a very slow-walking, swaggering Serena Williams icon, style maker, everything else. Her story during the Me Too stuff, she's amazing on her own a million different ways, but for her to be a powerhouse after being a mother and bring you Stugotz, I mean, I know the U.S. Open has done this with Jimmy Connors and stuff, but where we can all get to say goodbye together with an athlete going and summoning something in the role that she never gets to be because of her greatness, which is, when does greatness ever get to be that kind of an underdog?
Right. Well, she won't be an underdog for the remainder of the tournament. She'll be favored in every match because her best is still better than the number 2 player in the country. But it is interesting where...
In the world,
excuse me.
Is it?
Yeah, I think her best is still better than anyone else's best. She'll be favored in every match moving forward. She will be.
Is that correct?
Well, she
And
was
in third set last night, she was phenomenal. That was vintage Serena right there.
I bet before last night, and she was plus 200 against the number 2 seed. So I'm with Stugotz. All her opponents are going to get by ranking easier, right? Well,
the 2 seed's out now. I believe the 1 seed's out, right, Mike?
Wouldn't she not be able to play the 1 seed to the final? Isn't that how seedings work?
Well, but the 1 seed got eliminated in the first round. There have been a lot of upsets in Flushing. It's been a pretty crazy tournament. There was a minus 2,500 favorite that went down. And honestly, the storyline that I wanted...
He's gambling again.
I'm gambling again. There's still some cool storylines going. I would have loved for... What I want to see most is not even Serena winning. I want her to get to the final and have a young American that was inspired by Serena be the one to take it from her. I think Coco's probably our best shot since she's most informed. But I seeing how the tournament's breaking down, I don't think we'll get that. So let's just root for Serena and not fade her anymore. I've learned my lesson.
She's a minus 160 favorite in her next match.
Right. The first match, she's been a favorite at the U.S. Open this year. So as she moves on here and eliminates seed, she's going to continue to be favored. But, Dan, I am telling you, it is so fun to watch this. The tension is amazing. It's like watching a finals match every single night. And if she makes it to the semifinals or the finals, I can't believe I'm saying this.
Well, you came in excited.
For a weekend, tennis will trump the NFL, and it's the opening weekend of the NFL because that will be the biggest story in sports.
No, it won't.
No, it won't.
I think it will, Mike.
It won't. No,
I think it will.
Wait, Serena at a final? I'm with him.
Her last tournament,
with
Serena
all due
in
respect,
the finals.
With all due respect, that's on the second TV.
Mike, Sunday, 4 o'clock.
It's on the second TV. With all due respect, dude, I'm putting Colts Texans on the first TV. With
No, it's got to be at least Raiders Chargers.
Nothing stops the NFL.
Nothing does stop the NFL.
Nothing stops the NFL. Stop it.
Maybe Serena. She stopped an entire crowd last night. She told them to shut up, and they
Oh wait, Chiefs Cardinals 4 o'clock. I'm back with the NFL.
Guys,
oh yeah, I'm back too.
It's the U.S. Open. It's the last 20 years have been the single greatest era of men's championship tennis. We have seen so many great men's finals line up against the NFL.
Oh, but it wouldn't be this one.
But
it wouldn't be this.
But the women's finals on Saturday.
There you go.
It's a
All
Saturday.
right. No
it's a Saturday
choices
at 4
to make.
p.m.
There you go. Biggest
wait a
story in
second.
sports.
Stugotz, why'd you do
Yes.
this to
Wait.
us?
I mean, that's the men's final.
Why'd you
Notre
have
Dame-
this going
Hold on,
against
do
the
we have
Jets?
Notre
Usually
Dame,
on
Ohio
Saturdays,
State?
though.
But if
right?
it was going up against the NFL, I'm telling you, it'd be bigger than that.
Okay, well,
but now it will be bigger
all
than
right.
week 2 of
Very
the college
good, but
football
it's-
season.
Okay, but
How
it's
about
not
that?
going up against the NFL.
For a couple minutes there, we had a good debate going.
It was a great debate.
Well, let me ask a different one. Let me ask a different question to you.
Cards, I mean.
What is the worst feeling in
We got
gambling?
Tennessee at Pitt.
Is the worst feeling in gambling the bad beat, or is it fading the great sports moment where you're watching and it's like, I can't even root for this because it's costing me money?
Yeah. I'm opting out.
It's such a
You
bad,
should opt
it's
out.
such a
Tell
bad
you.
feeling.
Now you have to lay money low.
The fading Serena has been a very profitable business venture. I'm going to take my winnings and see myself out.
But you're sitting there, you're betting your money, you're rooting for a certain result, you're staring. All of American sports is rooting for Serena Williams, feeling like Tiger Woods in the stands last night. And what are you doing? You're not only sitting it out. Hey, there's me, Mike Ryan, not only losing money, but on the wrong side of history in every way.
Week 2, 10:15 p.m. D-Gen special. Number 10 Baylor at number 25 BYU.
That's a big one.
That is a
Oh, boy.
monster D-Gen special.
In Provo?
Oh yeah.
Oh, God. BYU's a
Oh,
different
boy.
team in Provo.
Just such empty analysis.
No, it's hard to get out of Provo.
Look at
Live.
the
Yeah,
home
gotta
away
get out of
sports.
Provo alive,
Yeah,
yeah,
No
yeah,
one gets
yeah.
out of there, Dan. I mean,
Ooh. Can I tell you my favorite bet of the weekend? My favorite bet of the weekend. I have just locked in a hater parlay. A parlay.
nice.
I have adjusted the line. I have sold points, and I'm taking Utah at Florida and LSU. Believe it's a neutral site game against Florida State University. I'm taking Utah and LSU to both win by double digits.
Ooh.
Really?
Just to
Yes.
hate on the other teams
If
in
you
the
go to
state.
DraftKings Sportsbook, a $50 bet will net you over $400 on Utah and LSU to beat two fledgling state of Florida programs by more than 9 points.
Is this based on you checking out their recruiting and being intimately involved in the weavings of recruiting this offseason?
Yeah, I do think that the LSU FSU game is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating because of the offseason. I really think that Brian Kelly's accent cost LSU 8 points with this spread.
You might be right.
I
Yeah.
don't understand it. It's a 3-point spread. How many times have we seen Miami line up in this game against an SEC team? I understand it's not the LSU team of old, but it's still like a sound team.
LSU
also-
was
it's not-
so bad last year, though.
It's
Yeah,
not
but-
even really a neutral site game, though. It's in the Superdome.
I
They're
don't see
3-point
this.
favorites against FSU in the Superdome.
It's, to me, really puzzling to borderline fishy. It was so low that it almost scared me away. But I'm just gonna. LSU is just gonna make that quarterback throw. I don't see how that's a game by the fourth quarter. I really don't. I'm setting myself up for an epic freezing cold takes. But this line does not make sense to me.
I am always afraid of a line that doesn't make sense to me. Always afraid,
And
wondering.
Florida, my God, Pa, what are you doing scheduling Utah? You are paying.
I had no idea Utah was number 7 in the country preseason.
Utah.
Yes.
They're
I was shocked
reigning
to see
Rose
that.
Bowl champ.
The Utes.
Yeah, you don't invite Kyle Whittingham to your house. What are you doing?
My uncle.
You're gonna pay them $500,000 to kick your ass, and I'm gonna be there eating popcorn. Love it.
Stugotz, Utah has been good for the last 10 years.
If you say so.
and was
I mean,
good last year. And Mike, LSU was bad last year. They couldn't stop anybody at all. I mean, they were when they played a game and actually got into the 40s and 50s, they were in close games.
Recruiting hasn't gone great for LSU. Certainly not what they were doing in years past. But Brian Kelly is a very solid head coach, and it's really a bet against FSU. What, we're getting scared because they didn't cover against Duquesne? I don't understand what we're doing. FSU was really bad last year. Really bad. Thank you for beating Miami last year. I really appreciate it. A historical moment in Hurricanes history. I don't see this one at all. So that's a fun little hater parlay. Obviously, it's juiced. It's not likely, according to the odds makers, but I think Utah's better than Florida. I think LSU's better than Florida State. And I don't necessarily think that's by a small margin either. I think that they're a good deal better than those teams. Florida's going to be tricky because that's at the Swamp, week 1. We'll see. But the ticket sales have been struggling. They got to give tickets away to that one.
Our winning Wednesday went 0-2. If you bet against us, you won again.
A phony.
Controversy.
Yeah, major controversy.
No,
with that
wait a
one.
minute. What do you mean?
We should have gone 1-1 because yesterday we
should have.
The parlay, though.
No,
Pathetic.
okay, but I understand.
Still
But we
lose. I mean,
gave
it doesn't
Seattle
matter.
Storm. We
No.
gave Seattle Storm plus 5.5, and somehow it turned into Seattle Storm money line. I don't know how that happened. I don't know anybody.
I haven't talked to anybody.
I haven't talked to anybody. But I don't know.
Okay,
It became.
so we
But
got
it went 1-1, and you lost by a hook on a run line,
so
right?
bad.
Went 1-1, and you lost on a hook on a run
Do
line.
not do this. Do not do
Why?
that. Do not defend going 1-1 in a parlay when you went 0-2 and we put it down wrong. Like, we
Listeners
put
went
the-
1-1. People that consumed via social media, they went 0-2.
We have to do something about this.
Of course, it's a parlay. If you go 1-1, you go 0-1.
You lose, yes. You got to win both.
It is a loss, and it is pathetic to be out here saying we should have won half the bet, which would still make it a loser, but a less embarrassing loser. We have to do this better. What do we have to do? Do we have to call Colin Cowherd?
Let me tell you something. If Mike Norvell beats LSU in the Superdome, I will take out a roll of toilet paper and I will eat 3 plies. I will eat
Mark,
3
How
plies
does
of
that
toilet
fix
paper.
our problem, though?
I will eat 3.
right,
I will
there
tear
it
off
is.
3 individual plies of toilet paper.
Okay, very
I will look
good.
directly into this camera. and
nice
eat
to
it.
know, but
Mike
again, the
Norvell is
parlays.
not beating
Right.
LSU in Louisiana. I don't see it happening.
It's a college football weekend.
It is. Yeah. By the way, no one's showing up to that game at 3:30. Nobody.
I think the season ticket holders will show up.
Whatever.
Although I am a season ticket holder and I will not be showing up.
Exactly. Right.
I don't think that there's going to be a buzz around Bethune-Cookman. I think Mike has now arrived at a point where he is crazed beyond all reason. We have not yet started, and he did mutter a couple of things under his breath. Stugotz caught him on a couple of things during the break under his breath. One thing that he muttered is, "Heaven help all of you if we beat Texas A&M," after dragging that game into deep water mud. And,
Especially if they win that game 17-13.
Yep.
and he also said, and Stugotz pointed this out with, after hearing this is what Stugotz said. Stugotz said, "I'm not sure that Mike was just talking to anybody." And what Mike had said under his breath is, "I got Arkansas over Cincinnati."
He's unhinged, man.
College football has gotten here. It's arrived. And I am now terrified of everything that's happening around me, not just because of Mike, because this guy's made an appearance too. This person in general spirit on the internet has made an appearance. Dan LeBatard, while writing for the Miami Herald, went on a rant about what an asshole Saban is, on and on and on, asshole this, asshole that. In response, a Birmingham writer said, "Yep, but he's our asshole. We'll stick with what works until it doesn't." That guy is painting his face this week and
Yep.
thinking it means something when he says, "We'll stick with what works until it doesn't." Like, people are trying to find the words for their enthusiasm.
Every single college football fan in America is just looking for their asshole. That's what they want out of their fandom. They want the asshole that brings them success. It is a long and winding search. You try your Sam Pittmans and your Lane Kiffins, and you're just looking for your asshole.
You are so right about this, but there's another layer to it. Not only are you looking for your asshole at this time of year, you're looking to find, coming from the mouth of someone, that asshole I'm that asshole. Saban's their asshole. You're looking for both. You got to find your
You want
asshole.
the asshole who says the thing about your asshole. Yes.
No. You want the asshole that gets the thing said about him by that asshole.
Good clarification.
Yes. You got to get this one right. It's important as we enter this college football season that
I
everyone
want to
knows
be
where
the
their
asshole that
assholes are.
praises my asshole.
There's a big asshole out there, Urban Meyer. I mean,
But what do you mean he's out there? He's not.
he's out there
He's
for the
on Fox.
taking. You can take an asshole. I mean, if everyone's looking for an asshole.
Did you see, by the way, how they hired Urban Meyer
Yeah.
for the Fox pregame show?
What do you mean how they hired him?
Well, they just like put him as the 5th name in a press release and never announced that they're hiring Urban Meyer.
Trying to hide him.
It was just
Yeah.
like he's just snuck in there.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer, College Football Saturday, Big Noon Saturday. Check it out.
And did that work?
No, everyone saw it. I was like,
Yeah.
wait a second, you hired Urban Meyer after all of that?
He's their asshole.
They have Clay Travis on their pregame.
Oh.
You are, in a way, Mike, already, and this lasted 10 minutes, and it was unpleasant how crazed you are, and I believe that you are representative of everyone who's excited after a couple of really, truly awful years.
I'm so happy for Saturday to come because it's a culmination of a lot of complaints for some fans, a lot of message board posts, a desperate cry for someone to pay attention. And that's what I'm excited about, to really celebrate. I think Saturday is a celebration of us finally hitting this benchmark that should have been cleared 20 years ago.
You yelled at me and Stugotz for being out of date because you are now enmeshed in message board world where, he reports something about Art Briles' kid, and next thing you know, Mike Ryan is fighting with all of Baylor on this stuff. And I wonder if Mike is so close to it, Stugotz, that when he accuses you and me of being old,
Mm-hmm. He's right for the most part.
yes, but I don't know the audience, if at all, there has been any impact with or around the enthusiasm of the audience that the veneer of what this used to be has been stripped down so naked that I don't know if this changes the sport for anybody in any discernible way. It doesn't for me. I have always been somebody who enjoys that it's minor league football. And furthermore, I've gotten kind of pissed off that the injustices always get wrapped in the sis boom ba of we are amateurism.
Right.
I mean, because of name, image, and likeness, some of that is getting rectified. The reason why you laughed me out about the Gaddis thing, and you don't even understand like how monumental it is for a program that always went cheap on coaches to take the best coordinator available, somebody that wasn't even supposed to be in play. You don't get that guy. Alabama gets that guy.
I'm asking
the
you-
NFL gets that
That's
guy.
fair, Mike. That's fair. But, Mike, I think you're so close to it, you have reasons to be excited, and you care about it more than anyone I know. I don't think everyone shares those feelings. Like, you have to do something for it. It's nice they're spending money. It's nice they're getting recruits. It's nice they're getting big assistants. But you're playing Bethune-Cookman on Saturday.
I 100% hear you, and I agree with you. You'll have to do something. I would argue that they've done something already, which is apply the resource.
But instead of making it about Miami, I would like to more broadly ask Whittingham this question, because Whittingham has tried to articulate the argument in the face of your fiery hot homer breath. He has tried to say, hey, if we start doing football, minor league football this way, this overtly on Lane Kiffin saying, yeah, it'll be baseball now. Highest payroll wins, gets the best players. When Chris Whittingham says, and I don't know if this is going to stick anywhere, if the rabid need for I need what college football feels like, what football feels like, is so large that Whittingham asked the question before football season, like the dork from the library emerging in front of the marching band and saying, what's the point? What's the point of what it is that you're presently doing if you're simply going to buy your way in? And it's not going to be about rivalries. It's just made for TV, regional television entertainment.
Right. It's just about, like, can I get a state into my TV deal? Like, these are, like, on Saturdays, lining up are competing TV deals. And it has there's no point to like USC playing against Rutgers when like, what are we measuring? The ability to like sneak $600,000 to some quarterback through a car delership? Like that's what we're measuring on Saturdays. What? Like why? For what?
True.
What is this system?
It's very confusing.
I agree. But what has the system been for the last 20 years?
That better hidden.
No,
Yes, you're right. You're right.
I mean, I think now you actually I'm not going to go as far as to say there's going to be parity, but I do think that more teams will be able to get in the mix now. Yeah, I mean, we've been watching the Alabama show, mix in with a dash of LSU and Georgia or whoever, or Auburn
I
and
think
Clemson.
Two teams can win the championship this year. It's Alabama or Georgia.
That is no different. That is no different than what you've been watching.
You need a few years to play out. Mike is technically right. Like if you have if you have an alum who's got a lot of money or a donor to the football program, and he takes it seriously, there is a chance for teams like Northwestern or Indiana or Texas. You would assume that Arch Manning was going to go to Mississippi. He went to Texas. Why? They offered more money. I mean,
they're offering. They have the Pancake Factory. Go ahead and Google that and see how much their offensive linemen in Texas are getting. I do think that, and we'll see with the expanded playoff. I'm not crazy about that because the college football playoff games have not been good. They haven't. They've all been blowouts.
It's gotten progressively worse over time. The first ever playoff was incredible, but over time it just becomes one team is overmatched by the other. And if we're at 4 and there are teams that are overmatched, Alabama and Georgia have just simply gotten too strong. And I don't know if NIL helps fix that, but I do know that when you're just moving teams from their regional rivalries and just having them placed all throughout the country, it's a proxy war between Fox and ESPN. There's just so many elements of this sport that are no longer about what is the competition for?
But the Fox and ESPN thing is an added dynamic to when you're worried about who's the main rivalry is Clemson versus Alabama. I'm very excited to see where the network wars go and how they cover and who has the rights to the college football playoff and how does that play in. You're going to have biases, legit biases, be thrown around out there. But for teams like Miami, expanding the playoff actually shifts your timeline. You know where this is all headed, right? NIL is not going to be what it is right now. Right now, we're kind of operating.
Wild. It's so great. You will never see it look like this again.
I will tell you, you'll never see it look like last year. You will never see it look like last year. Last year, that was just, it has gotten a little bit more buttoned up. I'd actually say a lot more buttoned up than what it was last year. But where this is all headed is you're going to essentially have a union in the college football playoff, which is going to run things over the NCAA. We're already seeing those wheels in motion. CFP is going to be the governing body. And then kids will get paid through that. And then NIL will be what it was always meant to be, which is if you have Tyler Van Dyke and he's a local superstar, he'll pitch you on this app. And that'll be that. Right now, it's a little crazy, but CFP will organize everything and you'll have more structure and you'll rectify some of the injustices that Dan has been pounding the table over for 20 years.
I would like for it to actually be a football structure in which it's on the basis of revenue, it's all coming through the program, and then they pay out a percentage of that as salary, and we get to see, all right, Michigan this year has a $55 million payroll, and Indiana has a $25 million payroll, or whatever. At the very least, like baseball, it starts to make some sense as this is within a competitive structure. It's just now the complete Wild West, and I think we're going through a probably 2 or 3 year period, as you're saying, Mike, where TV deals are getting fortified, where NIL is going to start to make some sense, and eventually these walls will crumble, and college football will become our second American football league.
And we love that, though. Why do you have that being lesser? People love the NFL.
The structure is such a good thing. And I think it's not the structure that's just on the NCAA or whatever governing body. The NIL people are forming structures. That's where these collectives come in, where they want to take care of everybody. Because what happened last year, what happened this year is not sustainable. And everyone's just going to set up a new high water mark, and it's going to be like the old NFL rookie wage scale where the rule is I just outdo the previous year's number 1 pick.
Are you guys answering my question on this, though? Because, Stugotz, are you any less interested in football? Are there people listening to this right now who are saying of college football, I'm not interested the way I used to be because of what Whittingham is talking about. Why are we doing this?
It's football on Saturday. I'm interested. It's because, Dan, it's still about Alabama for now. I'll see how it looks in 5 years. But for now, it's still about Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, the teams I care about, the brands I care about. What it looks like in 5 years remains to be seen. I don't think anyone knows what it will look like. So I can't really give you my interest level in 5 years, but this year I'm as interested as I've ever been because it's the same as it's always been.
But I just, you walk into the season and like, there's been so much player movement. Like, to me, if players signed 3-year contracts because they were getting paid a lot of money, it would at least sort of settle my brain down on what this is. For me,
But Whitney, Riley leaves Oklahoma and goes to USC, and now he can take his quarterback. Like, the kid could finally follow the coach.
Correct.
It's why he went there in the first place.
Correct. But what I'm saying is if you then like did a trade or, you know, a Premier League style transfer where we know it and you sign a contract, but now that players are just year to year, it's rolling 1-year contracts for every single player in college football. To me, we're showing up on Saturday and doing a ton of learning. This first month for me is purely about learning who is where, learning who players are. I actually think college football announcers have a huge burden to explain who's on every team.
This is
and that's
why
been a significant fall off.
This is why, though, the reason I asked the question is, like, are you guys prepared for how transactional this is about to actually feel? It's never felt as transactional as that. All over the sport for the first month of the season, they're going to be telling you, and 12 guys went into the portal here, and they're going to be introducing you to the teams that you haven't been following necessarily because you're not like Mike snorting college football podcasts about Bethune-Cookman on the way in.
I understand why the optics of it, it's just because it's there. It's hard to ignore. But this is so much better than just everyone during recruiting season picking Alabama. This is just way better than that.
Chaos is
They
better,
still are.
sure.
Dude, Nick Saban went to a microphone and openly complained about how much money other people have. Nick Saban!
Right.
It's
funny.
He was complaining publicly that his advantage over the last 20 years has been evaporating.
It's so great.
He mentioned Miami's basketball team.
That's funny.
Dude,
I know.
But Mike, this season,
is good.
This season, it's basically the same. I mean, there are a few changes. This will take a few years.
Yeah.
It's still Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia, right?
Yes. They've
Right.
had a head start on all these,
And maybe
things.
USC.
Yeah.
I mean,
Are you guys stepping back from all of this, whether it's Brady's broadcasting contract or just everything that's happened in sports, and realizing, holy shit, whether it's Juan Soto, $440 million or $8 billion for what used to be the Big Ten network, that all of these people in the business parts of this have been stealing money by the framework and the system.
They still are.
But
They still steal money. They make like the Big Ten's TV deal is $7 billion over 8 years. That's basically $1 billion a year. The players see none of that money. $0. There's been an entirely new economy created by car dealership owners that pays the players now, not the actual television money.
It's an amazing thing to watch the system collapse and to live in the middle of how it reanimates, like, what, I don't know what, I'm thinking of that liquid guy in Terminator in the 1980s.
T-1000.
But to see the whole thing, to see it happen, I do wonder, and perhaps you don't. Maybe the fandom, you paint your face, you go to the games on Saturday, you tailgate, you drink your beer, and you don't care how you get it intravenously. It's simple.
It's entertainment, Dan. It's
you'll
football.
talk yourself into the cheerleaders but it's lifestyle. This is what I want to do on Saturdays, and I don't care how commercial it is. My weekends, I want to escape from everything else. Give me these 3 hours on Saturday. I can belong to something, and I simply do not care how contaminated it is.
I don't care. I personally love that Gus Machado can change the fortunes of a college football program. I do. I mean, it's amazing.
You know
what a time.
You're right. It used to be just Malzahn, but I want Machado. Like, I don't want it. I want Gus Machado. I do want my car dealer. You know what? You've convinced me. I say go a step further. Chip Kelly, you're going to need to move. Let's just get our biggest booster on the sideline and just stare at him, see what he looks like.
You know what I care about on Saturdays?
What's that, Chris?
Waking up, putting on College Game Day.
Yep.
Putting in a couple parlays.
Yep.
Tracking them throughout the day.
Yes.
I don't give a shit about anything you guys are talking about.
Did you know that Country Roads is not about West Virginia?
It's not.
It's about the western part of Virginia.
It's about Western Virginia. I mean, God.
Yet the planet
Everything
in
they know
Missouri.
is a lie over there. Yeah. Tonight is a backyard brawl. And for those that are unfamiliar with it, it is a rivalry between Pittsburgh and West Virginia, two former Big East foes, now in totally different conferences, the ACC. I may remind the audience that Pittsburgh is the reigning ACC champion.
What?
So they have won an ACC before Miami has. And West Virginia is in what's left of the Big 12 right now. But there is an intense rivalry that is going to be played out tonight. I don't know if you guys have seen what is played out on social media. There was a formal pep rally for Pittsburgh, and the quarterback for the Pitt Panthers just openly said into a microphone with his entire team and head coach behind him, Narduzzi was smiling as this happened. He knew what was coming his way. Quarterback says, I believe it's Kevin Slovis, says, "Fuck West Virginia," which is, we could say that, but the quarterback saying that's a really big deal, right? But they knew they wanted the smoke. So that happened 2 days ago, and what has emerged since then has been cell phone video off of Snapchat inside the West Virginia space age locker room, where they have TV screens everywhere, and on a constant loop is the quarterback. These LED screens suck on the lockers saying,
so good.
"Fuck West Virginia."
It's so good. So all of these players are just going to be rabid and frothing all week. Every step they take, it's the quarterback's voice. So do you want that smoke? Do you want the smoke to feel like that?
Yes. That's fun smoke.
Tonight is going to be fun. I am telling you, it's always buried. That rivalry is always buried. Where
Jessica's
there's
there.
To watch.
She went in like a javelin. She's landing neck first in the middle of that insanity.
I am so excited to watch this specific game because it's an intense rivalry that if you really follow college football, I don't know why Andrew, if you really follow college football.
Mike took as a compliment the other day. Mike took as a great compliment the other day. Someone came up to me, clearly wildly on drugs, and said that they were friends, very close friends with Andrew Luck, and that Andrew Luck hates Mike Ryan's impersonation of him.
Oh, man, that's too bad.
That's an honor. Congratulations, Mike. Yes.
Mike was very happy. He would say, "You want to make an acceptance speech?"
That's a beautiful compliment. I'm upset that my friend Kobe Fleener was under the influence.
What a great name.
Fleener.
What a great name of just a square 6'5" tight end who will get you 6.5 yards when you need 9.
Happy trails to Jack Doyle, my friend.
They surprised me with Kobe Fleener. I don't know that you could have chosen a better shitty tight end.
Well, the Jack Doyle's one note about former Stanford tight ends. I had to surprise you.
Stugotz, I just saw on television on Bart Scott's segment, "Can't Wait."
It's a great segment. I mean, it is. It's clever.
Can't wait to see if Tom Brady is okay. Do you think that there is some sort of issue in 11 days of Tom Brady being away from camp that isn't just family life is hard, marital stuff is hard, he had to go handle something 11 days in, but clearly it's not going to be different Tom Brady just because he's going through whatever the turbulence is at home?
I think it will be the same Tom Brady that we saw last year. So, no, I don't think there's going to be anything different. He took 11 days off. He's 45. He has shit going on. I know it doesn't fall in line with what Tom Brady is all about and what he's been about his entire career, but he's going to be fine. The Bucs are going to be fine. He's not bailing on his team. He's not bailing on his coaches. He wouldn't do that. He took 11 days off.
The only reason I'm bringing it up is because we don't need in the media many excuses to talk about this person. But I was surprised. I missed it the first time it made its way through, that the number of people who skipped right past him saying, I'm 45, I got a lot of shit happening, and went straight to Tom Brady doesn't physically look the same. His face does not look the same. It looks like he's gone to get work done since the last time we physically saw him. And I missed that entire conversation on the internet that wasn't about the quote. It was about everyone is now
his appearance.
Everyone is now speculating that Tom Brady looks. Mike, can you explain to the audience that hasn't seen this just how different he looks than the last press conference we saw with him as a Buck?
His face looked completely different. It did.
Well, his lips looked a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
The jawline a little bit more defined, especially in the cheeks. The hair certainly super dark and fuller. But
You've told us that Tom Brady's hair is straight white.
Yeah, well, you could tell from when he's done the matches on TNT, the golf match, like the back of his head, there was a lot of white hair showing. So he's obviously seen a colorist. That's okay. I mean, who among us, right? 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 But give it 2 weeks to settle.
Right.
Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, he's going to look fine. It's just a little swollen right now.
But we can. Are we
everyone
reporting
knows
it?
2 weeks after? Is
Are
when
we
it really
reporting
settles.
it as fact? Are we reporting as fact that
Right?
as,
Everyone knows that, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
as
We
part
know.
of the 11 days off,
Guys?
Tom Brady has had work done. I don't feel
Mike's an expert on this front.
But-
I am
but-
telling you.
like
Right.
Stugotz, please, okay. This is America's most
If
popular.
Mike says so. I mean,
It's America's most popular sport. I simply want for us to be able to enjoy in the age of the internet and getting distracted by silly things. The singular absurdity in a 45-year-old man who has more luck taming age and time while surrounded by 300-pound people who are breathing on him than he does when he needs the help of a surgeon because his face is aging and he does not want it to. He's married to a supermodel, and the vanities matter to these people as a couple. So again, America's most popular sport. He is one of the favorites to win the MVP at 45. And I never had to before cover, hey, Terry Bradshaw is looking to go back-to-back this season. He's had work in the offseason, was off for 11 days because he wanted to fix his face, wanted to be more handsome, fuller in the lips. It's not an analysis I've ever done regarding football before.
Bradshaw would just put his hand further in the dirt.
exactly.
That's what I did this offseason. What'd you do?
We've never done the internet. This is how they were covering Tom Brady. Did he have work done? Oh my God, how much work has he had done?
Yeah, I understand how he's gotten to this point. You can't he's somehow still in the league in this age. He is married to a supermodel. He was always talked about for his good looks. You got to keep the pressures. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, really, who among us?
Well, he wasn't really known. He got better looking as he got older.
With
So it was
age,
when he
yes.
first got in the league, he wasn't necessarily known as this.
But
He's
once
the
you get
ageless
that
wonder.
good looking, there's a standard that you have to kind of.
Oh, I know.
Up. Yeah,
I know.
Right.
This happens a lot of it. Happens.
I know you do.
We don't really see it with males, but we see it with Madonna, who gets often dragged to a really hostile degree on social media for how she looks right now. When you're always the person that is the ageless wonder, you have an immense pressure on you to keep it going for as long as humanly possible.
And yet Paul Rudd just still out here doing it.
Yeah, well, he's also.
Be careful. Be careful. I care about you.
I owe an apology to Keaton Slovis. I'm sorry.
What happened?
I forgot his absurd first name of Keaton. Come on. Yeah, he's in Pitt now. He's a former USC Heisman hopeful. It's all these quarterbacks. I do need someone to just walk me through it, like Whitty said. I need a good 4-minute primer just to tell me where the quarterbacks are. Hey, that
just tell me the
exciting
names?
Indiana guy is in Washington right now. The Heisman hopeful from USC, he's in Pitt now. By the way, Pitt won the ACC last year.
Just like a Cliff Notes to catch you up, like the beginning of a series that's been gone for a while, where they catch you up on where last season was, and when they come back 8 months
Caleb
later.
Williams is in USC now.
Should be like a movie on Amazon, or like I'm like watching a movie on Amazon Prime where they have on the side of the window like who's in this scene. I need that on the screen all the time. Just say on the bottom of the screen, the quarterback for NC State is blank.
Can you guys, just all of us together, can we do how well it is working? It is like the gypsy's curse, what's happened to Tom Brady here, because you're an impossible symbol for forever youth, and you have to keep it looking like that on the outside. Stugotz was actually fooled yesterday into thinking that Tom Brady at 45, it no longer hurts him to play football. The idea that Stugotz is having trouble making flights that don't come with back pain, 5 years older than Tom Brady. And because Tom Brady has done such a good job pharmaceutically and cosmetically to disguise that he is Kenny Stabler under there. He is a scarecrow improved by flesh science in order to make, he says he's white-haired, totally white-haired. Of course, the stresses of being Tom Brady would not allow him to naturally look impossibly like he's never felt a pressure in his life.
But are you saying that if he went months without getting any work done, we didn't see him, he's sitting in the house, he would look like the Snake?
I am saying that his skin is stretched like a tarp over a scarecrow that is withered from 20 years of pressure and trying to be impossibly young while also trying to defeat age among all the others. It's just a veneer of lacquer. White drops fall off it like raindrops fall off it the way they do off a waxed car.